Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the BArnzy channel. I'm Stu Williams and today we're going to have a little chat about nationals. I came back about a month ago. I've been trying to get this video made for a little bit, so if you've gone in between and you were looking for some tips, my bad, I'm sorry. So, there are two patterns out at nationals this year. The team pattern is by far the hardest of the two. It's a shorter pattern, probably around 38 feet. You kind of have to keep the ball in front of you, not play a lot of angle, I guess is the best way to put it, on the fresh. Playing somewhere around second narrow. Kind of, you want to start as far right as you can, but feels like there's quite a bit of out of bounds. So, how I solved this was I started off with my Hustle X-Ray. I've got it drilled pretty strong, but this is a ball that's got a fairly medium cover stock. It had a little bit of surface, like about 1,000, and it was really designed for something that would be a little smooth and a little more controllable on the fresh until the oil started to push down. Now, one caveat to this is the team that I bowl with, we don't have that much rev rate. Like, I'm by far the highest rev rate in the group. So just bear that in mind when I'm giving you tips on what we saw. So to start with, I bowled somewhere similar to this. Trying to keep the ball in front of me like that. Like, and when I say in front of me, it means like not having a lot of angle through the front part of the lane. Keep it like kind of in front of your eyes, control the pocket, and kind of hope that you can create a little bit of hold. And then your kind of miss area is going to be the pocket, if that kind of makes sense. I don't think you're going to get you're not going to create a lot of area, whereas you're going to go high flush every shot. What you're really looking for is, you know, can I miss a little right and carry the light hit? Can I miss a little high, trip a 4-pin? I feel like the pattern is hard enough that you need some good things to happen to you the first game to be able to get out with a good score. Now, we have a challenge shot out here, so this is quite a bit easier than what we bowled on. But that's kind of the shape that I was looking for on the fresh. I was using probably a little more speed than this to try and create the hold. But depending on your skill set and how you see it, I think having as much forward roll, like not having a lot of rotation, is going to be helpful because that's a little bit more controllable. Having a ball that doesn't hook miles is probably going to be, like, if you have a super strong ball, I think it's going to be really difficult to control the pocket. And having a little bit of surface, I think shiny balls probably aren't a great idea. For some guys with a bit more rev rate, I think that the urethane might be an option. And if you can do it with your group and you get some oil down the lane, I think you'll then be able to chase it in a little bit faster than maybe I could, and then you can create a bit more shape because you can use that stronger, quicker response ball once the lane transitions. So, anyway, from there, this is where I made my error. I bowled 217 the first game, but it was starting to get too lazy down the lane. So, instead of going to the XL and just moving a little bit, we had one guy in our group who was quite a bit further in than this, and he was using an origin, and he was making it look pretty good. So I ended up going straight to the attention star, and I moved quite a bit to play an angle something more like this. Now, I did 210 a bit when I missed there, so maybe this shot isn't that bad to compare it. But anyway, I think that this was my main mistake. Now, our right lane was quite a bit tighter than our left lane, and that made me kind of nervous to get into the XL because I thought it was going to wiggle down the lane and it wouldn't get through the front part of the lane either. I was wrong, and I continued to do this. So let's get a little bit more forward roll. I was a little bit further left than that, both with my feet and with the break point. But that was the kind of shape I was trying to create. Now the right lane caused me a lot of trouble, and funnily enough, the guy in our group who I was talking about who was hooking the origin ended up using iron max on the right lane and origin on the left lane. And I didn't do a very good job of keeping an eye on what he was doing, and I kind of caused myself more trouble. So towards the end of the game, I needed a double in the 10th, but fortunately I was finishing on the good lane. So I got out with 195, and I made the decision for the last game I was going to go to the XL on the right lane and stay with the attention star on the left lane. So XL picks up earlier than the attention star, and that was the problem with the right lane. If you got the ball past that part of the lane where it wanted to pick up, it got behind the head pin a lot. And I think that that's what a lot of people are seeing on a lot of the lanes. Once you get a little bit in, if you get it too steep, it never wants to hook. That's where the XL gave me a lot of misroom, because I could get in, but it would pick up soon enough that it would allow it to continue. If it got too far down the lane, then it would wiggle. So we continued with the XL on the right lane, like this. And on the left lane, we continued with the attention star. Now the left lane was breaking down quicker because it didn't have that spot down the lane that was that had the wiggle. So as a group, we could continue to move left. So by the end, I was playing an angle something more like this. I probably wasn't getting it quite that far right, but I was using a little bit of a lower speed, and it was really important to have a lot of angle through the front part of the lane. If I missed up the lane, that was kind of where I got myself in trouble. Now, I did a pretty good job, got out with 235, or 234. So I ended up bowling right around 650 for team. I was fairly happy with that. So we came back the next day, singles and doubles. Now, I'd watched a little bit of singles and doubles, and I was fairly convinced that the pattern was going to play really similar to how I bowled on it the previous year. I did really, really well, came second in all events, and all of my score came from doubles and singles. So this year, I had the XL with me. Last year, I had absolute power. To me, both those balls are fairly interchangeable. They have a pretty big asymmetrical cores, but they also have fairly mild solid covers. Like, they're not the super strong balls like Iron Max. So I started off with my XL, something like this. Fairly similarly, actually, to Team, but just with way more ball. Now, obviously on this, there's a lot more friction to the right. I felt like there was plenty of recovery to the right in Baton Rouge. It was just how far right you had to stand with your feet to find that, that miss area. So I think that the best tactics on this is to take a ball with some surface, but not tons of surface. Start as far right as you feel comfortable, but as far right as you need to be able to see the ball pick up consistently. I think that a lot of people are struggling because they're a little bit too far left, and when they miss right, it really wiggles. That's not how I saw success on this pattern. Chad Kloss and his group all played pretty parallel up the lane, and that's what I did the previous year, and that's what I think is the best way to attack this lane, is to keep the ball kind of a lot of forward roll and really control that front to back. Make sure that your ball isn't going too far down the lane. I think if your ball's going too far down the lane, even if it's going to recover, you're going to leave a lot of single pins, especially 10 pins. So for the first couple of games, that's what I was doing. Now, this year I felt like the lanes were a little drier. I felt like the lanes were a little drier, and the problem that caused for me was it made me have to play a little more angle through the front than I really wanted to break the lane down well. So I ended up, I started off going very similarly to what I'm doing there, maybe a little further right than that, but the problem became it started to hook a little early, and I made the mistake of trying to use a little more speed. And when I did use that speed, it missed the front to back hook, and then it got behind it, and I left the 210 a couple of times. So what I ended up doing was moving like probably 3 and 2 left, and just slowing the speed down just a little bit. Playing a shape similar to that. So that was games 1 and 2. I think I ended up shooting 230, 240 with the XL. All of the layouts and stuff that I did, I'll put in the graphics when you see the balls going down the lane. But from that, I felt like if I continued to bowl where I was going to make the lanes really cliffed. And by cliffed, I mean, I felt like the spot to the right was going to become really dry. But because we were in a group, I was bowling with my wife and Rich Amy and Mark Williams, I just felt like we didn't have enough rev rate. There was the 6 of us to really break down the middle, because I was the only one who was going to play left. So I didn't want to end up at the end of doubles where the lanes were super dry here and super wet here, and I'd created a cliff. So what I did was, I just blew into a switch grip hole, by the way. So what I did was, I decided I'm going to preempt that problem, and I'm going to go to my DNA coil. Now, I had a couple of different options, but I decided to go with the coil. I slowed my ball speed down, and I did something similar to this. Again, I was trying not to use too much rotation. I didn't do that. I didn't miss by that much. We can leave that one in so you can see that I'm trying to do this to give you an idea live. All right, so I moved in, slowed my speed down, played a motion kind of like that. And that strike that I just threw was kind of how the ball was reacting for the majority of the game. Kind of felt like it wasn't quite enough hook. Like it didn't quite get through the pins enough, but it kept knocking them down. So who am I to change? So what I did was, I kept staying slow, but I just moved my eyes in a little bit. And started doing that. Now that was way more convincing than the strikes I was getting. But I ended up with the front 9. And I was a little bit torn about what to do. So I was starting to think, man, maybe I just don't know what I'm doing. Like, so that was kind of the shape I was playing. But the problem became, I just couldn't, it felt like the worse I threw it, the better the motion was. And when I threw what I thought was a really good shot, I didn't get very good motion through the pins. So in the end, I grabbed one too hard in the 10th frame, left the 3-6-10, made the spare, and from there, I decided, even having had the front 9, I needed to change to the Equinox. So for singles, I went straight into the Equinox. I moved a little left. kind of did that. And after a bit of a rocky start, like sort of strike, spare, double, or it might have been strike, spare, triple, spare, I kind of really locked my speed in. And I've had so much success with the Equinox this year that it really became like super comfortable. It's kind of become my go-to ball, like almost my comfort blanket, I would say. Wow, this is way harder. This challenge pad is way harder than what I saw at Nationals. But anyway, I kind of kept playing that reaction, and shot 240, 280 in really good position. And then the reaction I just got there was kind of how the ball started going. It started really wiggling down the lane. Now, I found it really difficult to get out of it, but I think that what I should have done once I started to see the wiggle, now bearing in mind, when you've gone 240, 280, strike sped double, even when the ball doesn't look right, it's kind of hard to get out of it when you only need a 220 to take over the all events lead, which ironically was the score I needed the previous year to take over all events. But what I think I should have done, and what I wish I would have done, is switch over to the attention star. I think that this would have got, with it having like the cleaner cover than the Equinox, I think it would have cleared through the front part of the lane better, and then it would have seen more motion down lane. So I think that I should have ended up doing something like this. I think that that's what I should have done, but you know, maybe I just didn't throw many good shots because the pressure came on. Maybe the lane had changed and that was the right answer. Maybe I needed something different, but that wasn't the right answer. We'll never know. But in the end, I ended up with 21.41, which leaves me 5th in all events at the minute. It looks like it's another missed opportunity to win an eagle, but you can't be upset with that. Overall, what do I think with the keys? Well, on team, I feel like staying somewhere between about 8 and 12 on the fresh is going to be your best bet. And then if you have a little bit more rev rate, I feel like you can chase it in a little bit once the pattern stretches. I think starting with kind of a very mild reactive ball is a good play. Other people have had success with the urethane. It depends. It always depends. But like for me anyway, Hustle X-Ray was a pretty good start. Moving on to doubles and singles. Personally, the way I saw the lane was be as far right as possible, use a little bit of surface on kind of a stronger ball. Maybe not the strongest ball you have, but a stronger ball. Kind of try and break the lane down going up the lane, and then you can kind of move in and kind of use the work that you've created. Mitch Beasley was able to do something similar to that. He ended up using a DNA coil with a little surface at the end, and I think he had the front 10 his last game. So, yeah, I think there's plenty of score out there on doubles and singles. Team, on the other hand, is like you really got to be patient, kind of got to wait for the lane to develop. Yeah, try not to look for too much shape on the fresh. So thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, let us know, and we'll try and create more like this. If you like this shirt, let me know in the comments, and we will get something like this. This is like a t-shirt material jersey, but it's got the big Beef and Barnzy logo. So let us know. We can get it up on beefandbarnzy.com. As ever, thanks for watching. We appreciate you. See you next time. Bye-bye now.